This morning I'm going to be talking about log files and dealing with a growing log file. And first thing I want to point out is that you can find a lot of contradictory advice on this. And so I'm basing the advice that I take on this is from Kimberly Tripp. And she's an expert in SQL Server. She has a good article on SQL skills about this. So that's kind of what I base this off of because I use her advice for my logs. So as a case in point, first of all, this does not apply if your database is in simple recovery mode. And how you can determine that, if you right-click on your database, which you can't see in the screen currently, but I right-clicked, I clicked on the word, or clicked on the option Properties, and you can go to Options, and here's the recovery model, and you'll see mine in this database, which is Bitcoin, is full. And but if it's in simple, it doesn't apply. Okay, so we're talking about a database here that's in full recovery mode. And so every now and then your log file, the LDF file, will begin to grow. Now, if you read Kimberly Tripp's article, she has some really good advice about, the drive and, making just one log file, and she has good reasons for that. And so I would highly suggest you to look at that. But let's go over just some of the code for dealing with a kind of a growing log. And the other day, I think it was 2 days ago, my log was, I think it was 99% full with Bitcoin because I have a lot of transactions that go, I think, at least a transaction every 5 seconds. And so it was 99% full. And one of the things that I always do, first of all, before I even touch the log or anything with the log, is I back up my database in general. So I do a backup. And remember, when I do a backup, I use checksum, and then I also verify that the .bak file is good. It's one of those things that all you have to have is one BAK file go bad, and from then on you'll check and verify that it's valid. So I have some previous videos that show how to do that, but that's kind of the process in terms of, first of all, backing up a database. The next thing is I have a stored procedure that does the log to get the log size down. Again, this isn't necessarily mandatory, but the first thing is to back up the log. And backing up a log is very similar, not identical, but very similar to backing up a database, except instead of backup database name, it's backup log. And we have the database name, to disk, and then this would be the same thing as if I did, let me just do this here, backup logs bitcoin.trn. And a transaction log is a .trn file. So I'm going to do it that way. In this example, since this is just a stored procedure, I won't make any changes. Okay. So then we back up the log, and then after we back up the log, we will shrink the log file. Now, you'll notice, and probably this will be the question, so the syntax for backing up the log is backup log database name, which is Bitcoin, to disk the path. Like I said, very similar to backing up a database. On the shrink file, the syntax is dbcc shrink file, and you'll see the Bitcoin log. That is the logical name of the log file. So how you can get that is a couple of ways. One of them is you can do sp help file, and this right here is the log. You see the LDF, that's a log file. This is the logical name of it. Now I notice that it doesn't say logical name here. The other way that you can get that is to, again, right click on the database, click on Properties, go to Files, and you'll see the logical name, Bitcoin, and Bitcoin log. Now, I cannot stress this enough. When you're making databases, if you do it exactly identical in terms of your syntax, you will never have to worry about this type of issue. All the time, I always have my logical files to be Bitcoin_log. And you'll also see, if I go back here, oh yeah, I can show it here. You see that bitcoin.mdf, I don't do Bitcoin_data, I do just bitcoin.mdf. All of my database, my data files are the name.mdf. All of my log files are the name of the database _log.ldf. So I can just know right off the bat with any database. Let's say my database EchoBoomers. EchoBoomers, the MDF file is going to be echoboomers.mdf, and the logical name is going to be EchoBoomers. The logical name of the log will be echoboomers_log, and the LDF file will be echo boomers underscore log.lbf. If you do it the same, this is very easy, and you can do this in seconds. If you have all these different, well, this time I'm going to do it this way, and this time I'm going to do it that way, okay, it's going to be a lot of work to remember. So my suggestion is adopt the same syntax. If you're a company, do it the same way. Okay, so we're going to shrink file, truncate only, and the next thing is we're going to reset the log file, or reset the log size, I'm sorry. So you'll see alter database, syntax, alter database. We're going to alter the database name Bitcoin, modify file. Again, here's the logical name, which you can run this, or you can find it in properties. Comma, size, what do we want the size to be? I want the size to start at 500 meg. And in this database, when it gets to 500 meg, I run this again, or when it gets close to it, it doesn't actually hit 500 meg. So, again, you can see a lot of similarities. This right here is very similar to backing up a database, except you're backing up the log. Shrink file, you know where to get that. This is one way. Truncate only, and then of course you have your alter database, and what you'll see when you do that, as a case in point, is let's say our database was 490 meg. It will shrink, the size will still be 500 meg, but the overall percentage of the log that will be used will be down to 0, 1% around there, and depending on how many transactions run. The way that I also have this is my C# application will run this stored procedure just like backing up the database by temporarily holding off all of the transactions. So there's a brief pause. It's not a very active time, like at 2 o'clock in the morning, that holds off all the transactions, does these processes, and then the application continues. So it's an infinite loop, but the way C# does it is it opens and kind of freezes everything while it's doing this. And it's not a long process. Even when it was full, it only took, I think, about 30-something seconds. So that is, again, this is based on Kimberly Tripp. I realize that if you go elsewhere on the internet, you can find 100 different ways to do it, and people will swear up and down that you don't do it this way and you do it this way. And I am using SQL Server 2008 R2, so keep that in mind. But that is the process that I follow, and it works very well.